Dear friends, in order to browse my channel is simple. Just go to YouTube, then write down here Shaalan Aldosky, then click this one. Then you will see all the video I made it for you. And also, in order to subscribe the channel, you have to have Gmail account. Okay. Today our lesson will be comparative and superlative forms for adjectives. So we have to know how many syllables is the adjective, then we have to describe. Syllable is the number of times that a person opens his or her mouth to pronounce a vowel and closes to pronounce the consonant in a word, creating a rhythm of the word when speaking. The number of vowels makes number of syllables in the word, where it doesn't or does not need to include consonants. How to count the number of syllables in a word. Placing the hand like this under the chin is the best way to count the syllables number by counting number of opening and closing the mouth while speaking the word. When we say comparative, it means comparing between two things, or two person or two people, or maybe two things. Then we add er or more. Then we add er to the end of the adjective, or we put more in front of the adjective. Then when we say superlative, it means more than two things. Could be three persons, or maybe three things, or three adjectives. Then we also add es to the end of the adjective, or we put the most in front of the adjective. Okay, let's go to see how we count the syllable. Having one syllable, adjective add er when comparing two adjectives, and add est when making superlative between more than two adjectives. If you look here, if we have adjective old, because only we have one syllable, because also we could say one vowel, then we make it comparative, we add just er to the end of the adjective. If you look here, we say older. When we have superlative, we add est to the end of the adjective, we say oldest. And also if we look here, this adjective, we say small, we have only one vowel or one syllable, we say. Then we add er to the end of the adjective, we say smaller. Then here we add est when we make a superlative, we say smallest. When we have one syllable adjective, if the adjective ends with a vowel, e, just delete e, sometimes we say, and add er to the adjective when comparing two things, and add est in superlative when comparing more than two adjectives together. Or we could say in another way, we could say or keep e and add or to comparative and st to superlative. Okay, let's look here. We have this adjective. We have large. We consider it one syllable because this vowel only pronounce it, and this vowel is not pronounced. Then we say large. Then here, then we add er to the end of large, or sometimes we say keep this e, then add only r to the end. Same thing when we have superlative. Then we add est, or we could keep the e, then we add st to the end. Then we have one syllable adjective end with a single consonant preceded by a vowel. Double the consonant and then add er or ast. For example, if you look here, we have only one vowel here, one syllable. We call them thin. Then here we have the vowel I, then we have consonant N. Then we have to double the consonant. That's the reason we say thinner. Then in superlative we add est. Then we have vowel here, only one vowel, one syllable. Then we double the N with we say thinnest. Okay? Let's say we have adjective having two syllables ending in unstressed vowel sound. Add er when making comparative and add est when making superlative. Let's look here. We have clever. We have here, because this is unstressed, then we say cleverer. We add er to the end of clever. Then we add est when we make a superlative. We say cleverest. Okay, let's continue. Then when we have adjective having two syllables ending in full, if we have full in the end of the adjective, just add er. Then we add er to it when we're making comparative, and est when making superlative. For example, we have here useful is more than, is two syllable, useful. Then here we say more useful because it's more than two, or sorry, two syllable. Then we add more. Then here, because we have full here, and then we say the most useful. Okay, let's go to, if we have an adjective, a two syllable ends with y, or y is in the end of the adjective. In comparative and superlative situation, change y, here we change the y into I, and then add er to it. Or to comparative and est in superlative. Or sometimes we say in another way, you could say change the y into ie, because there's two theories. Some of them they say change the y to I and then add er, or sometimes we say change the y to ie and then add r, and st to adjective in comparative, superlative respectively. If there is consonant before y, we have to make sure before y we have to have a consonant. Let's look to this example. For example, look here. We have easy. Okay, if we look here, we have easy. Then if we want to here look at it, we have y. If we look here, we have y. Before y we have consonant, which is s. That's the reason we have two options. Either we could change the y to I, as we did here in comparative, then we add er to it. Or sometimes we say we change y to ie, here ie, then we add r to it. Then in superlative, then we say here, we change the y to I, then add es to it. Or we say change y to ie, then add s to it. We look here, we say funny. Same thing here, we have it. Before y, we have here consonant. Then we have to change this y to either ie or I. If we change it to I, then we add er to it in comparative, if you look here. And then here we add es to it in superlative, if you look here. Or sometimes we say change y to ie, then here we're going to add only r to it, and then here we're going, in superlative, we're going to add only st to it. Okay, when we have an adjective ended in y preceded by a vowel, y is kept with no change in comparative and superlative. For example, look here. We have adjective, then we have a vowel, we have a y. Before y we have a vowel, then we don't change this y to ie or I. The other reason, if we look here, when comparative, we just add er to it. And then in superlative, we just add es to it. Okay? Then we say gray, grayer, then grayest. When we have an adjective with two syllables ending with er or le or ow, just add er and est to the end of the adjective, such as in, look here, we have narrow. If we look here, because we have ow, then we're gonna just add er to it. If we look here, we just add er to it. We look to here, same thing, we have it narrow, then we say narrowest. And also if we look here, we have gentle. If you look here, we have, because it's two syllable, then we just add er to it. Okay, sorry, we just add r to it because we could keep e here, then we add r to it. Or same thing here, we just add st, or sometimes we say we delete this e, then we add es to it, or sometimes we say here also we delete e, we add er to it. Okay, anyway, which one you see is convenient for you, just follow it. When we have adjective having two syllables or more, when making comparative between two things and more, we have to make sure we have more than two. I mean, maybe three, maybe four, maybe group. And here and added more when making between two, and then the most when making superlative between more than two things. Keep the adjective with no change. For example, if look here, we have worried, because we have it's more than two syllable. This is sorry, two syllable, one syllable, two syllable. Then we add more. They say worried. We don't change the adjective, we just add more in the front of the adjective. And then sometimes we say here we add the most, or sometimes we say most. Then we keep the adjective with no change because it's two syllables. Okay, let's continue. When making a comparative and superlative adjective with three or more syllables, just add more for comparative between two things and add the most for superlative between more than two things. Could be maybe three or four or group. Look here. We have adjective expensive. We have 1, 2, 3. Then e, because it's the end, then sometimes we don't pronounce it. Then it's gonna be 3. Then we say more expensive. If you look to the adjective, stays same. We don't change. See here, the adjective is the same. Only we add more in the front of the adjective. Then we make it comparative. Then we add most or the most. Then we keep the adjective expensive. If you look here, we have dangerous. Then it's more than 2. We could say 3. Then we add more, dangerous. Then most or the most dangerous. If you look here, we don't change, the adjective stays same. If they are more than 2 syllables, then we just add more or most, or the most, sometimes we say it. Okay, let's go to here. Sorry for this mistakes. I have to correct it. The comparative is here. My apology for this. Should be superlative here. Okay, let's go to number 11. We have some exceptional in adjective. We call it irregular adjectives or adjective. We have good. In comparative, we say better. In superlative, we say best. Then we have bad. gonna be worse, then worst. Then we have far, we say farther, then farthest. Little, less, least. Many, more, or most. Old, we have two options. You could say older or elder. Oldest, eldest. When we have two syllable adjective, accepts both rules of adding er when comparative and est when in superlative. In the same way, we could add more and also the most when we make it comparative. We add more, then superlative, we add the most. For example, we have clever, we say cleverer, and then more clever, then we say cleverest or most clever. Then we have gentle, gentler, then more gentle, then gentlest or most gentle. Friendly, then we say friendlier or more friendly, friendliest, most friendly. Quite, quieter, more quiet, quietest, or most quiet. Simple, simpler, more simple, or simplest, most simple. Sometimes we add much, a lot, for can be used in comparative adjective when you compare between two things. For example, the streets are a lot more crowded on weekdays than they are on holidays. For example, here we have second sentences. This movie is much better produced than the one we saw it yesterday. The novel of the Lord of Flies is far less interesting than the movie itself. The market has been busier than ever on Sundays this summer. Sometimes we could add little and a bit. Can be used with comparative adjective. Some experience a little more nervous in his new job than he has in previous job. Okay, we look here. Sam experiences a little more nervous. That's we added because comparing between two jobs. Then we could look here in this sentences. The business is a bit slower in winter than it is in summer. Should be in summer. Okay, sometimes we use than. It's used when pronoun in comparative adjective. For example, Sam is taller than him. We use than him as comparing between two people or two persons. The lady on the right side is more elegant than the one next to me. Sometimes we say here when change or grew is taking places in a particular quality. It's fine to use two of er adjective connected by and. Here we say and, or it is okay to use two more connected by and preceding the adjective. For example, the business is getting bigger and bigger. If you look here, we have adjective, then we add another adjective, bigger and bigger. Sam is getting more, look here, more and more nervous as the exam is getting closer. Sometimes we use less. It's used with long adjective. For example, this guideline is less complicated than the previous one. Sometimes we add this. Not as, for example, put adjective here, as. Or not so, for example, put adjective then as. For example, or use it with one syllable adjective. For example, Sam's car is not as fast as my car. If you see comparing between two. For example, let's look here. Then we say, this house is not so big as our old house. Okay? Then we have a preposition is not used before name of a place or group when it's singular, while a preposition is used when they are plural. For example, Sardar is the fastest runner in the team. If you look here, because we say singular, then you could use then that. And then look, if we look to the second sentences, all the soccer players are fast, but Sardar is the fastest of them all. Okay, let's look to these sentences. We use the. The is used when a noun is preceded a superlative adjective. For example, that was the worst interview I have had it in my life. Should be my life here. My life. Okay, thank you very much for listening and hope you enjoy it. If you like it, just give thumb up.